hard to follow that up. Brentley's done such a great job. I'm going to have to defer to my notes a little bit. First of all, Maynard had many dear friends. I'm just honored to be one person that could be up here to speak about him as we remember him and all his radiant glory. I'm going to try to stick to some of my notes because if I, can you hear me all right? No. I'm sorry? Because
speak up.
Well, with a mic, I don't really need a microphone. I'm sort of like Maynard was in that respect. I needed a microphone around him. As you'll see, if I start ad-libbing too much, it might drag it out a whole lot. But I am honored to be speaking in memory of Maynard, and I'm sure we all have great memories of Maynard, and collectively we could write several books. With Maynard, I only think about the good times. Brent has mentioned it earlier. Maynard has gone on to a better place, and he's free again. But with Maynard, I have to go back to the very beginning. In 1975, my wife Jane and I and another couple, Judy and Dwight, booked a 7-day Caribbean cruise. Embarkation was from Miami, but the trip package included a charter flight from Richmond to Miami. It was also a champagne flight, and everyone was getting into the island spirit quickly. We, our group of 4, noticed a very gregarious and animated fellow going up and down the aisle. I thought this guy possibly could be somewhat of a pest if you were around him very long. Do I need to say more? I told Jane that the ship was huge and we probably wouldn't see him again once we were off the plane. I had to learn a lot, didn't I? Then Judy and Dwight realized that they knew him. And in his first year of teaching, he had taught them biology, and I think it was at South Boston High School. But they remembered him as Mr. Dalton, and we finally came face to face with him when he recognized Judy. Introductions were made, and then Judy and Dwight reminisced with him for a while. The term pest still entered my mind, but I was sure that on a large ship we would rarely, if ever, see him. On arrival in Miami, the plan to transfer the ship was to claim our luggage and proceed to a so-called red-top van for which we had vouchers. Now it was just the 4 of us again, walking with our luggage toward a van. The back door opens, and there's Maynard, arms wide open, saying, "We have been waiting for you." I was surprised, but I was still thinking, it's a big ship. 2,000 people. We won't see him very often. So much for the big ship idea. We board the ship, and within an hour, we are all together again. We started our bonding, and for 7 days and nights, we were together 20 out of 24 hours. And that's the truth, at least 20 out of 24. We didn't sleep much back then. Maynard became very well known amongst the passengers, and by the 3rd day, half of them thought he was the cruise director. And for sure, one night, Maynard upstaged the cruise director named Fabio, and Fabio was very jealous of Maynard the rest of the time. It goes without saying, we all had a wonderful week together, a week-long, non-stop party. It was the beginning of an unbelievable relationship. Now, a few years later, I have another cruise story that still makes me chuckle, because it was rare that I could get anything on Maynard, but it happened about 3 years later. Jane, Maynard, and I were going on a cruise, and the 3 of us stayed in one cabin with 2 sets of bunk beds. Jane's pretty tough. She can stand rooming with 2 guys like that. Think about it, Maynard and me. Maynard and I still smoked cigarettes at the time, and we both smoked menthols. I can't bear to think of it now, but anyways, menthol cigarettes. He and I both smoked about 2 packs a day because we were on vacation, you know, and we were up 20 hours a day. I had a carton and he had a carton. I saw him open his carton and he poured the 10 packs into his tennis bag and slid it under his bunk. I hid my carton. From the very beginning, I would take a pack from his bag when he was not around. On the 3rd day, Maynard is digging into his tennis bag for a pack and realizes not many are left. With a closer look, he counts 2 packs. Maynard is shocked as he says, "I am smoking entirely too much this week. I need to cut back." I let him continue to believe this for one more night, but then I confessed and replaced the number of packs that I had smoked. We 3 had a good laugh about this, and like I said earlier, it's one of the few times I got the best of him, because he was sharp, as we all know. All right, another story, not on a cruise ship, but to the dismay of some people around us, Maynard and I would play a game when the check for a dinner was presented at the table. Typically, this would happen when there were 4 of us. Whoever would say the word check, bill, or tab would get the bill and have to pay. We would both try to coax the other by saying, "What is the term used in chess when you have your opponent stymied?" If you answered, you would say check. Or, what was the name of the teenage heartthrob in the 1960s? I think his last name was Hunter. Tab, Hunter. Some of us remember that, some of you don't. And then there was, what was the Righteous Brothers' first name? I think his last name was Medley. It's short for William. Well, that would be Bill. So if we could get the other one to say one of those things, then whoever said that ended up paying the check. Eventually, we would grow tired of the game, as were our 2 companions, and one of us would cave. This happened one night at Snowshoe Ski Mountain at dinner on Saturday night. Our server was a young lady who was a ski instructor by day. She provided good service, and we had a good time bantering back and forth. I don't remember who paid the bill, tab, or check that night, but we didn't communicate about the gratuity. Maynard and I both were good tippers, but it wasn't until later that night that we realized we both had left tips. Fairly nice ones, too. We were shocked that we had made such a mistake. We decided we would try to find her on Sunday on the ski mountain to let her know we had made a mistake and see if we could get half of our money back. You know, we weren't thinking very well. On Sunday, we checked out every ski instructor on the mountain, but couldn't find her. Finally, we stopped at ski school headquarters to ask about her, and we were informed that she had called in that morning to get the day off. Maynard and I figured she was out partying on all the money we had donated to her, and needless to say, we never saw her again. But in reality, we were not going to ask for any money back. We just wanted to see her so she could see what 2 idiots look like in daylight. From that day forward, we always made sure we knew who was paying for what. We learned a lesson. As I mentioned earlier, we met Maynard en route to a cruise ship, and we were on several cruises through the years. Maynard should have been in theater. He always had drama and entertainment for others. On one cruise, Maynard entered the Grand Lounge dressed as a Playboy bunny, carrying a serving tray. The cruise director was shocked and speechless. The crowd loved it, of course. On another cruise, six of us arrived at the costume party dressed as nuns. We proceeded to dance to YMCA as the village papal people. And that went over pretty good, too. In Richmond, we attended many parties, and we all loved to dance. At some of the Halloween dances, it was time to play dress up. Well, guess who loves dress up? Maynard led a contingent of 10 of us to dress as a wedding party. 5 guys and 5 gals. It was a wedding reversal. And I was a bridesmaid. Jane was the groomsman. Guess who was the bride? It was elaborate. And we even had a rehearsal and a dinner 2 nights before. We wanted to get it down right. Another Halloween occasion, 8 of us dressed as Snow White and the 7 Dwarfs. Guess who was Snow White? I had a lesser part to play. I was Sneezy. On 2 occasions, Maynard was Kermit with Miss Piggy, and he was the nurse with the doctor. As you can see, there was never a dull moment. I can't begin to tell you how much fun we had as volunteers for the Virginia Winter Special Olympics. As you know or may imagine, Maynard was the athlete's favorite volunteer. He was very entertaining, and year after year, he came up with different ideas and outfits to keep everyone guessing. Maynard and I, along with some other volunteers, would participate actively in the athletes' dance party on Monday night. Occasionally, Maynard would include others in his entourage, and one year we dressed as the Wizard of Oz characters, and Maynard was the scarecrow, spreading straw everywhere, but he really did look like a scarecrow. Another time we went as the village people, not to be confused with the village papal people on the cruise ship. We went actually dressed as the village people, and Maynard was the Indian chief. Not long after that, a year or so later, he introduced the infamous cow outfit at the athletes' party, and then proceeded to wear it on the slopes the next day as he fulfilled his job as race starter. Then there was the penguin outfit that he wore to the party and on the slopes the next day. You couldn't miss where he was, either by sight or by sound. Maynard was a father, a grandfather, friend, loved one, biology teacher, thespian, drama king or queen, Special Olympics specialist, and snorer extraordinaire. And I know, I roomed with him several times. I usually had to move out and move into another bathroom or something. He was a party waiting to happen. Maynard spread much joy wherever he traveled, and those who came in contact with him will never forget him. I loved Maynard, and I will miss him tremendously. I will remember all the good times, and they are abundant. If we talked about all the good times today, we'd be here for a long time. I will quote someone else, and I've seen it again today. The free spirit is free once again. Maynard is in heaven now, and he is the vice president in charge of fun and entertainment. And with that, let the mooing begin. This is our salute to Maynard. Thank y'all very much.